Hello, I am Stephanie Joy, the attorney at All Things Social Security and Joy Disability Law. Your video is about to start. I just wanted to remind you that if you click the join button below, you can learn more about the memberships offered at a very affordable price that can give you a little more direct attorney answers to your questions. Have a great day and enjoy the video. Happy weekend. You might not be seeing this on a weekend, but if you are, this is a little explanation because I was just explaining to somebody on the phone, and it concerns how you revoke your appointment of a representative, attorney or non-attorney rep. If you decide you no longer want that person to be working on your behalf on your case, and that could be for a variety of reasons. I don't think it's typical, but it does happen. And it's also true, I believe, that you can do this in writing in a letter to the SSA, but you don't know who's necessarily going to be opening it and how, I don't know, savvy they may be. So I would suggest it would probably be a better practice to use the actual form that the SSA has to do it, because then the person on the other end cannot be confused if they have difficulties reading and understanding. And there's also no risk that you misword something and that it doesn't end up happening the way you want it. Now, I do want to give a forewarning that it is not always a good idea to withdraw your appointment of representative, particularly if you're looking for another representative to step in, unless, I mean, sometimes you have to do it anyway, but there's a couple videos that I have out there, and I'll try to tag one or both. They explain the difficulties you might have securing a new representative. And it has to do often with the fact that the person who started working on your case and put in time, in theory, it has a right to ask to be paid. So even if you get rid of them, they're still going to want to bill you. Of course, it has to go through the SSA. It would be a fee petition in that instance. But remember, fee petitions go by the hour. That's a billable hour request, as opposed to that very protective, minimizing, discounting, 25% contingent fee on back benefits capped at whatever the legal cap is that you get the luxury of when you have a contingent fee agreement. But the second a second representative steps in, the contingent fee agreement of the first one that you've kicked to the curb, or perhaps they chose to withdraw, perhaps you're the nightmare client, who knows, that contingent fee agreement no longer applies to protect you with that 25% capped at something. And now if they want a fee, they're going to be submitting a fee petition saying to the SSA, hey, I did XYZ before this terminated, that you have now had the advantage of. And here's what I propose the fee is at my billable rate. So just remember that there are ways to avoid that. I put that in the video. So you're going to want to, I would just suggest, if you're thinking of getting rid of your representative, you think objectively about it calmly and watch those two videos, because they're going to tell you some of the risks or some of the steps you're going to want to do to eliminate risk of costing yourself something, including potentially the inability to secure other counsel. But going back to it, the form you're going to want to use, and it's readily available online. I can also probably find it and link it or put it down below. Okay. It is the SSA 1696. I should say SSA-1696-SUP1. So SSA 1696 SUP 1. Okay. And I'll just give you the overall statement that they make. They tell you that the form is optional, and it is, because you can do this by letter, and that you can bring it to your local field office, mail it, or fax it to them. And they do say you should also tell your representative, and I would agree with that. To do that blindsidedly is not nice. Even if you don't want to talk to them, let's say it makes you really anxious, or you feel like you might have someone unprofessional on the other side that'll be like, cursing you out. I would expect that not to happen, except for the occasional unstable representative out there. I mean, your way of telling them could be by letter if you don't want to talk to them. And I get it, who likes it? It's uncomfortable. So you could send them a letter or an email or a message, respectfully, just saying this is what you want to do. And that you yourself would be submitting the withdrawal, or as per those other videos, ways that you can try to see if they'll do it. And then you have to just follow up and make sure that they did. Okay, so it says, and I'm just going to read you the verbiage here. You can use this form to end, aka revoke, an appointed representative's authority at any time during the processing of your claim. You must sign and date your revocation and file it with the SSA. I'm ad-libbing here, either in person at your local office, mail it, or fax it to us. You should also tell your representative, that's getting repetitive here, once you revoke the appointment, we will no longer deal with the named representative. If you have no other representatives, you may continue with your claim unrepresented or appoint a new representative. If the individual you revoke is your principal representative, you must give the name of your new principal representative. The revocation will take effect on the day we receive the signed document. That last statement, I think, is if someone has a principal representative and another representative. That would never be something that would be it's part of my practice, but apparently these things do happen. It might be when there is maybe a lawyer that starts it in a firm, but then it goes to a different lawyer or a paralegal or something, and they're both going to be signed on as reps. If you, I guess, had more than one, let's say you have 3, and you revoke it for your main one that you had to identify as your main one, you have to pick one of the other ones to be your new main one, right? I think that really kind of sums it up. There was something I wanted to reiterate. Oh yeah, when they say you can appoint a new representative, again, there are risks and difficulties in doing that some of the time. So you're just going to want to review those. And again, I will put a button or something at the end, or maybe attach the one that's really about think twice before you do it. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye, guys. Hey, so I just heard that another video is being attached here that pertains to the subject matter of the video you just watched. So if the shoe fits and it's of interest to you, feel free to stick around. Talk to you later. Bye. Hi, so this is a little blurb about your right to terminate the relationship you have with a currently appointed Social Security disability representative, whether it's an attorney or a non-attorney rep. The fact is you do have that right, of course, and you do not need the attorney's permission. You don't need anything from him. You would do a letter to SSA and or call them. You definitely want to make sure you always have it in writing and always have proof you sent it, and always make sure you tell the representative that you're disconnecting from. So that's the easy part. You have the right. I want to talk more about what you might want to think about before you do it. I get not infrequently do I get a call with somebody. I got it this week. It happens multiple times a month. Someone who has terminated the relationship with their attorney rep, or non-attorney rep. And in this case, it was an attorney rep. And now they're looking for a new attorney, and they have a pending case. I think they're heading to hearing, actually, the one I just spoke to. But there are some considerations as to whether the next attorney is going to want to take your case. For instance, when you terminated with your attorney, was it mutual, and did he or she agree to waive their fee? Did you know that the prior representative is going to have a right to request a fee if you win the case, even if you win it on your own later because you weren't able to get an attorney, or if you get it with another rep? So now you're going to have, if you did have another rep subsequently, you're going to have 2 representatives, 2 attorneys or non-attorney reps seeking a fee. Now, if it's a $6,000 fee cap because of the contingent nature of the contingency fee agreements that the SSA approves, that's not necessarily going to help you, because if you have 2 reps, those don't apply anymore. Your protective fee agreement that limited your fee to a very small amount no longer applies. What happens instead when there's two attorneys that are going to be requesting a fee for the work they did, the methodology that the SSA uses is called a fee petition. Each side that wants to request a fee will have to submit a fee petition. And even if the one doesn't request a fee but never waived fee, the subsequent one's going to have to submit a fee petition. We all can't stand it, but it is the way it is. So the reason why the second attorney might not be happy about that, number one, it's a pain. It can take like a year or more to get reviewed by the SSA and then approved. Approved in some amount. It might not be the amount that the attorney worked for that's in the itemization of all the work done, because that's what's included in it. It takes a long time, so they starve in between. And because the SSA has discretion on what amount to approve, it is my personal opinion that they take what would be perhaps a suitable under the circumstances entire fee, and they split it. So now this attorney is getting half of what he should be getting if it were contingent. And the other attorney, who in theory did put in X amount of work on the case before you guys split, is gonna get a piece too. And it could maybe likely be 50-50. So neither one is gonna be happy with that, but certainly the second one, which is why many of them will take your case if you had a prior representative on case. So think about that and the possibility that you might not be able to get another attorney. The fee split, the length of time it takes for the fee petition to be approved, and the amount of time it takes to put it together, it's a real pain. It's not hard, but guess what? Our hours are really slim and we already work on a very close margin. So that's another reason why people don't favor them. I will say if you get the fee waiver from the first attorney, none of this is going to apply. So that's what you really want to try to do. But you might have a hard time. You know, they want to get paid for what they did, whether you think they did a lot or not. They might also have a hurt ego if you dump them. So think of all these reasons why they might not waive fee before you kick them to the curb. And then when you talk to the new attorney, if it were me, I think it would behoove us all to always ask a potential new client. You have to get us a copy of the letter where your prior attorney withdrew and waived fee. Now, again, you can withdraw without him, but with that fee waiver would normally be his recognition of a withdrawal and they'd be waiving fee. So that's the letter that the second attorney is going to want. So they can also send it into the SSA to make double sure that that thing got processed, because I've seen it. I've had it happen to me where the other side kindly did waive fee and then the SSA dropped the ball and never processed it. And that, 2 years later, after all my work, I still had to do a fee petition. But when you talk to the lawyer, if you've done this more than once, they're not going to like it that you're doing it once because of the reasons I just mentioned. But if they get the sense that you had 2 prior reps, aside from the whole fee splitting nightmare, you might look like a shopper, someone who, or an attorney hopper, a representative hopper. You move along and then you terminate and grab a new one when you don't get what you want. And I'm not saying that's what's happening at all. And I'd say most of the time it's probably that communication discrepancy where a client doesn't feel he's being heard or doesn't even know if his attorney is still alive. But unless you really make that clear of how egregious the neglect was, you might look like you're hopping and that you're overly demanding. You might be high maintenance. Once in a blue moon, we have a high maintenance client who, as we work for free for, thinks we should also do their dry cleaning for them. So if the impression is that you are kicking them to the curb for the most insufficient reasons, you're probably not going to get a new attorney. Again, it's hard enough to get a new attorney if you're switching attorneys. It really is. I mean, I'm a softie and I think long and hard, and I usually kick myself when I agree to do it because I know I'm being business-wise irresponsible in some ways, but sometimes I just feel like I must. But not everyone's going to do that, and nor should they. So give it some thought before you burn that bridge with the current representative. Okay. You do always have the right, and you don't need them to do it, but there could be repercussions that you're not thinking of. So give that some thought, and get your ducks in a row before you make the decision. All right. Have a great one. Bye.